Hello, Garland Nixon. And as you can see by the empty bookshelves behind me, I'm well into my move, hopefully to be moved into my new place by next week. But at any rate, I think we got one or two things we need to discuss. Let's talk. Hello, Garland Nixon here. How are you? So as I said, you can see, I'm in the process of moving. So hopefully next week I'll be back up and running. This may be my last one this week until I get into my new abode. But at any rate, let's get going. So what's happening? I think one of the things we're seeing is some very, very significant desperation in the EU. We're seeing a reality, and that is that in truth, Europe is different from the United States. It really is. Europe is different from the United States. And there is, not saying that there is no fascism in the United States, right? Not saying that that doesn't exist here. But the Europeans seem to have a strain of fascism that is superb. I mean, from the perspective of fascism, you know what I mean? I mean, like, I'm not saying good. I'm not saying I like it. I'm not saying I'm in favor of fascism. I'm just saying, it's like, for instance, let's say there's a serial killer. Nobody wants a serial killer. They're bad, right? But then there are bad serial killers who get caught and like their victims don't die. Like, I'm a serial killer, and they like attack somebody that they can't beat and they don't have a weapon and they get beaten to death. You're like, well, he's not a very good serial killer, right? Then there's a serial killer that's really good. They plot everything out and they have 100 million victims. And you're like, well, got to give him credit. He's an evil serial killer, but damn, he sure is good. That's the context I'm using to say that they have a superb form of fascism that has been developed over centuries, I think, in Europe, to the point where they have honed it to perfection, man. I mean, look at Kaya Kallas. Well, there's a couple of things you got to do to have the kind of fascism that they have. Number one, you have to put people in power that redefine the word stupid. Right? The word stupid, traditionally, we're discussing, intellectual capacity for one. How smart, how much can this person process in the old Pentium processor up here? That's one way to look at it, right? Another one is background. Have they studied? Have they read books? Do they know what's going on? There's one way, right? Then there's other people that have street smarts, right? And they may be like not bright in other areas, but they got street smarts. As an example, I'll say this: a Donald Trump. You ask me, what do I think about Donald Trump? Do I think he's some kind of an intellectual giant? No. A really good politician? One could argue that. One could say he's not a good politician, but the guy keeps becoming president. So there's something to be said, at least, for the outcome that Donald Trump can ultimately, create. He's president. So I would say from a Donald Trump, he's street smart. He's got street smarts. The guy who knows how to make it out there on the streets. You know what I mean? That's Donald Trump. He's got street smarts. And sometimes street smarts will get you a long ways. For instance, to the White House, right? Where I may disagree with Donald Trump with all kinds of things. Lots. But I'll say this: he's got street smarts. And someone says Trump is the deceiver. That's another way of saying he has street smarts. He's, some people are good at, one guy, let's say maybe he's really good at charming people. Right? And it could be charming people for good or for evil. It could be charming people with lies or with the truth. But either way, he charms people. And you could say he deceives people. Yeah, he made people think that he was some kind of the blue collar billionaire, they called him. He ain't a blue collar billionaire. He's just a billionaire. Maybe, I guess, I don't even know he's a billionaire. But whatever the case is, he was able to convince people that he represented them. That's a talent. You can argue there's a smarts there. He got the outcome he wanted. He became president, right? Okay. So at least you can say he's got street smarts. Donald Trump also seems to be able to figure out most of the time how to keep his base going. He throws some red meat every now and then, does all the things they don't like, and throws some red meat every now and then, right? So you look at Trump and you say, he's got some political skills. For whatever reason, he's got some political skills, okay? Wherein you look at Starmer. Does Starmer have political skills? None. Does he have any intuition, any connectivity to his so-called base? None. How about Macron? None. How about Mary? None. How about Kaya Kallas or von der Leyen? None. So I think one of the things that makes the leaders of Europe unique, right, is that their level of separation from the reality of the working class is extraordinary. You don't normally see that in politics. You know what I mean? At least people know how to lie and deceive the people. You call Trump the deceiver or a liar, at least he knows how to do something. He knows how to connect to him, even if he's lying, not tell him the truth, right? And he knows enough to give him a little bit of red meat every now and then just to keep him in the fold, right? Whereas the European leaders, they seemed to have lost touch with even the need to connect with the masses, to a point where now I understand the "let him eat cake" comment from Marie Antoinette. There's a context for it now. So I remember I always used to think about that. Like, you're sitting there and you're in charge of things, and the people don't have bread, let them eat cake. In other words, screw these. What? Hey, the masses don't have bread. What do I care? I'm not concerned about the masses. I'm the boss. I'm the queen, the princess, the king, the nobility. I don't care about the masses. I don't have any connection. And I never stop to think that if I don't look out for their needs, there's a price to pay. No, that never dawned on me. That price could be my head, right? And so I always wondered, let him eat cake, almost like it was a fable, like it wasn't true. It couldn't be true. Could anybody be that disconnected from the masses that they're starving and you just say, let them eat cake? Yeah, it can be true. And now we have a context for it. All we have to do is look at the European leaders and say to ourselves, where are they? What are they doing and why? Right? We look at the European leaders and now we see that they have something they're concerned with, and that is they have something that they're focused on, and that is the Ukraine conflict, right? And that is not even, and it has nothing to do with Ukraine now. It is really, as if it wasn't this all along, it is either morphed into, or it always was, simply their hatred for Russia. It seems to be very emotional, right? It seems to be very visceral, and to a point where it has really nothing to do with Ukraine. Ukraine is irrelevant. Ukraine is not part of what they're doing. Now think about this. We've got the European leadership, right? And their hatred of Russia, their focus on Russia, right? Number one, their economies are dispensable. We don't care about our economies. We don't care about our working class. We don't care about the future of our economies. We don't care if I'm doing the right thing for my economy. That's irrelevant. We've got to keep the Ukraine conflict going no matter what, number one. And that also means they have no concern with the masses, with the working class, with the health of the economic health of their societies, and the health and happiness and future and present, might I add, of their working classes. No concern with that. Politically, they don't have a concern for their political futures, in that because they are so singularly focused on what they want to do, they can't even perceive, they can't even conceive a conversation in which anything other than continuing the Ukraine conflict to take out Russia exists. What about the future? I don't understand. What about the past? What about the present? I don't understand. What about all the circumstances surrounding the conflict? I don't understand. We have to support Ukraine. We got to support Zelensky. We've got to do this and that. We've got to do these things. The other things, why, what, who's, are irrelevant. This is just now, it's a quest. It is a quest that they're on. It is a moral, it's not even a moral quest. I don't know what to call it. It's not moral in that they don't tie it to, I put it like this. The quest to take out Russia The quest to continue the Ukraine conflict is above intellect. It's above morality. It's above politics. It's above diplomacy, right? It is a meta quest that says this is what has to be done. This is our raison d'etre. This is our reason for existence, our reason for life. Now, look at what they're doing now, as an example. So they're going after the Euroclear, Russian assets, right? Now, it's foolish for any number of reasons. If you watch my last video, one of the things I said is, no, it will cause capital to flee Europe, which will be good for BRICS. Russia would probably be thrilled to see that. Oh boy, capital's going to flee Europe and go to BRICS. It's going to go to Russia. Russia ain't going to take your stuff. It's going to go to China. It's going to go to other places who'll just say, we're not going to take your stuff. Okay, so in reality, it's good for the person that it's going to strengthen those that they claim to weaken, but it doesn't matter to them because they've made up in their mind, we need this to go after Russia. The US ain't giving it up anymore. Trump is not in. What are our options to keep this going? And it doesn't matter what the price is to pay. In fact, this is a sociopathic way of looking at things. You've all heard, everybody who watches my channel has heard the infamous story from when I was in law enforcement. Two guys sitting in a car, cousins. One of them cashes his check. This was back in the day when you cashed a check. One guy cashes his check. He gets 5 crisp new $100 bills. His cousin is sitting in the car. He lifts the armrest. He puts his 5 crisp $100 in a bill in an armrest. He goes in the store to get a pack of cigarettes. He comes out. His money's gone. Says to his cousin, give me my money back. Cousin, I don't know what you're talking about. Nobody was in the car but you. You took my money. Give me my money back. No. He ends up calling the cops. The cops arrive. And the cops say, hey, there's nobody in the car but you. Give the guy's money back. I don't know. I don't have the money. But there was nobody else. Well, who took it then? Nobody was in the car but you. I don't know. Then you don't mind if we search you? The guy looks around. I don't care. Money was in his sock. Sounds insane, doesn't it? But it's the same concept. It was this sociopathic concept. His cousin walked out. There's $500 in that armrest, under that armrest. I want that $500. I can get that $500. I'll put it in my sock. There was no thought that at some point the cousin's going to return and you're going to have to. That's not the way a sociopath's brain works. The sociopath does not have the ability to consider the consequences of their actions. Get my point? So when Kaya Callas and von der Leyen and the rest of these sociopaths say, we can get this money. Russia has the money, we can get it. And people say, but, and they start telling them the consequences of their actions. The consequences of your actions will be catastrophic. It doesn't work to explain that to a sociopath because that ain't how their brain works. You're thinking about the future. Well, if I do this, that'll happen. I don't want that to happen. I'm going to do it. They're thinking, I want that money. It's right there. I can get the money. I got the money. That's as far as they haven't even got past, I can get the money. How do we get it? There's any number of ways we can get it. They're never going to have a concept or conversation in which they discuss the outcomes. Well, what happens if we take that money? They're not going to say, well, even if we take the money, Ukraine's losing. See, again, a sociopath, you're going to look at it and you're going to say, hey, guys, yeah, you need to think about what's going on here. The Russians are winning and they're going to win. So all these things you're doing are futile anyway. Again, what are you talking about? Outcomes, consequences of their actions, right? Okay? The consequences of their actions is what you're thinking about, talking about, trying to convince them. But a sociopath does not have the capability to consider that. So when you say, guys, the Russians are winning, so even if you do that, it's futility. And you're going to destroy your own banks, you're going to destroy your economies, you're going to piss off the world, everybody's going to take it, and you're going to lose the war anyway. They'll be like, although we can get this money. Kaya Kalas will be, but the Russians must be dealt with. The Russians are Russians, right? She'll just be babbling absurdities. And you'll be like, well, ain't no point talking to her. She's dumber as a bag of ice. How about we try this? Macron, what do you think? Good luck. That's Keir Starmer. Right? Good luck. You get through any of them. Because they're sociopaths and they are not considering the outcomes. Excuse me. They don't have the capability to consider outcomes. You have the capability to consider outcomes and consequences. They don't. All they know is it's there. I want it. I can get it. And as we know, if we consider consequences, right? These technocrats, what are they plotting? They're plotting their own economic destruction. Clearly. Hey, what are you looking at doing? Well, we'll do this. Well, your economies will be destroyed. Nobody will put money in Europe again. People won't want anything to do with you financially, and you'll owe a fortune. Huh? We can get the money right now, and we need it to keep the war going. That's as far as you're going to get with them. Their economic destruction is certain. Now, let me add this. What about their political destruction? Well, that's written in stone right now. That's chiseled into a stone tablet, right? Right now, it's clear. What Merrick's 22%, Macron 11%, Starmer in the teens. The leader of Denmark, I believe, is in the low 20s. Basically, this: the people of any given. Do you know Kaya Kallas, when she left her office in Estonia, I believe it was, she was at 20%. 1 in 5 people supported her, thought she was doing a good job, and as would be perfectly predictable, she was made the EU's high representative for diplomacy or whatever the hell. Why? It's not that they didn't mind the 20%. It was that was exactly what they wanted. They looked at that and said, oh my gosh, you only got 20% approval ratings, just like us. That means you're one of us. Come on down and let's have some fun. So clearly, their political destruction is written in stone. What's going on now is this: the other parties are trying to form, but Europe is so screwed up. I don't know how that's going to happen. The politics is so screwed up. Europe and the UK. So Jeremy Corbyn and a woman, I forgot her name, is trying to put together this party, right? Okay. But when I looked at the stuff was in there, it was like, some things that made sense, but I looked down and it was rights for trans people. I'm telling you right now, and I think y'all know, it's not that I got anything against trans people. It's not that most people have anything against trans people. It's that what percentage of the population is trans people? If we're honest about this, just from a perspective of politics, 0.01% of 0.01 or less, 1 out of every 100,000, maybe 1 out of every 500,000, something like that. There's not a lot of trans people. So we can say, sure, we want their rights, but that's not something that working class people are concerned with right now. If you want to get elected, you got to run on a platform that is attractive to the masses. Hey, what do you want? No war? And you can say every person, every human being should have the same expectations of rights. That's fair. Whatever. That's fine. Every human being should have the same expectations of rights. That's as far as I would go, because that covers everybody. But when you say we've got a list of things, and one of them is trans people, in the context of modern politics, that's simply, let me see if I can find it. That it aligns with the liberal class. That is a dog whistle to say to liberals, I'm one of you. Hey, liberals, yeah, I'm one of you. Let's go with the whole trans thing. Let's see. Let me find this. So you've got, it says, so who is it? Corbyn, and I think is the person's name Sultana or something like this. Sultana. At any way, so Sultana had left the Labor Party earlier this year because it was not sufficiently committed to the ideologies that she embraced, especially transgender rights and open borders. So both of them have that. They've gotten in like, this is, what do you want to do? We've got a new party. What do you want to do? We've got a list of things that include open borders and transgender rights. That is a dog whistle to the liberal class to say, I'm still one of you. And let's face it, the liberal class is completely discredited. And people see the liberal class as a bunch of warmongering lunatics, neocons, and idiots, and unrealistic people, and people just have had enough of the liberal class. The liberals have discredited themselves, and as soon as you start putting out dog whistles for the liberal ideologies like transgender and open borders, and make that a part of your platform, you're done. I don't care. You may feel it's right. You may feel it's good, and you have to say it. Fair enough. You know why? Because it's your party, and you should put in the things that you believe in. But if you're so blind that you think writing down a platform that has open borders and transgender rights is the way to push back against the system, you're politically inept, you're politically blind, and you ain't getting nowhere with that. You're not getting anywhere, because people feel like that's just going to lead me right back to where I've come before. Look, people that have voted for the Tories and they got caught hell. They voted for Labor, then they caught hell. And now they're going to bring somebody else that sounds like Labor. What are you here for? Transgender rights and open borders. Ooh, I think we just had a taste of that. Even I don't care what else you put. People are going to look at it and say, we just had a taste of that. And as soon as we see those two things, it's a dog whistle that tells me that you are the Green Party or the Christian Democrats or one of these, all of these parties that are same alike, that just alike. And we don't want any parts of that. The rest of, when you put those two things as part of your platform, everything else disappears. It's simple as that. Nobody sees anything else. If I'm reading down, oh, let's see this and that, college for everybody, healthcare for everybody, transgender rights and open borders. Next. And it's not that I'm opposed to immigrants or transgender people. It's that those terms now immediately connect to something in my brain. And when I connect to those things, most people, a lot of people now, when they connect to those, to the thing that those make us think, if we look at them as euphemisms for something, it's those are euphemisms for modern day liberal politics. And modern day liberal politics are warmongering, Russia hating, neocon craziness, and we just, nobody want. People are trying to get away from that. But might I add, if you're in Europe, go look at the EU's things to do list. Guarantee open borders and transgender rights, right up there near the top, near going to war with Russia. So my point being, luckily, people are waking up enough to know, to see modern day liberalism when they see it, and reject it, because I think it has to be rejected along with what we would call the centrist, ultra liberal, centrist, conservative, just this neocon globalist ideology. And you can call yourself Bernie Sanders, and you can call yourself Lindsey Graham, but either way, you never saw an imperial war that you weren't in favor of, and people don't want another taste of that. Okay, so my point being that when I look at Europe right now, see, when I look at America, there's a strain of politics in America that's kind of had enough and is going to push back on a lot of things, and we're seeing some of that. We're still seeing the ugliness of imperial America, the ugliness of neocon America, very, very powerful, in charge of things. That is in charge of things. Do not be misled. But even that has to express a little anti-ultra liberal stuff. Even if it's just a fake, it has to express it in order to keep the people. So the Trump people have to pretend in some way, shape, or form that they're not in favor of complete and total totalitarian domestic policies, that they're not in favor of, war with everybody. They don't want war with certain people, sadly. But they got to at least put in on some kind of pretense. The Europeans, because why? Because they're still somewhat connected to the voting public. They still take into account the voting public to some extent. They don't represent them, Don't get me wrong, in any way, shape, or form. But at least they understand that they got to lie to them. At least they understand they got to bamboozle the working class and the general public, right? We got to bamboozle, we got to lie to them enough that they're, if not happy, that they'll let us continue to do our diabolical deeds. Whereas von der Leyen, Kaya Kallas, literally, when someone brought up that there could be a lawsuit in the event that they take the Russian assets, she said there's no court in Europe that would dare to find against us. In other words, I'm a fascist. What do I care about the law? I'll control the law. Of course it's illegal. I don't care if it's illegal. I don't act within the confines of the law. And if we need the courts to do something, we'll fire the judge that rules against us. We'll threaten them. We'll kill them. Whatever we got to do to the judge that rules against us. We'll make it clear, whoever the judge is ruling, we'll send somebody to visit them and say, if you rule the wrong way, buddy, terrible things could happen. Hey, here's a picture of your son walking to school. We'd like to keep him safe. We'd really like to see your son stay safe. You know, he walks to school every day. It's a very dangerous world, so perhaps you need to find in favor of us. That's Kaya Kallas. That's the way these people think. They're gangsters, they're thugs, they're criminals, and they don't even have a mental, emotional, or political connection anymore to the people on the ground. And might I add, I think another part of that is because the EU is a supranational organization. You know, I put it like this. If you run for office, there's one step connection to the people, at least. If you're named by the people there, you know, like the EU, you're 2 jumps away from the people. And might I add this, even the people in power, like a Macron, who worked for Rothschild Bank, like a Merz, who worked for BlackRock, like a Sir Keir Starmer, who's just a British imperial puppet, any way you look at that, they are such, see, it's with them, it's not a matter of politics anymore. Like with the people at the EU, it's a matter of politics. With Starmer and the Rothschild people and the BlackRock people, it's not a matter of politics anymore. It's a matter of you're a member of the class of nobility. You're a member of the noble class, and you clearly represent the class of nobility, and you suffer the existence of the working class. It's not just that you don't have a connection to the working class, the peasants, the peons, the hoi polloi, the unwashed, right? It's not that you it's far worse than you just not having a connection to the working class. If you're a Rothschild banker, if you're a BlackRock Merz, or if you're a Sir Keir Starmer, it's far worse than that. Because one is just, you see the working class as a necessary evil. We got to have them here and they vote and they got to work in factories or something like that. But God, they're a pain in the ass. So you have nothing but condescension towards them, but you accept the necessity of their existence in the system that you're in, right? That's one way to look at it as a member of the political class, which is, I think, maybe that's how American politicians look. Like the Trump administration is like, yeah, okay, we got to have these people here and get their votes or something. So we'll have to at least throw them some red meat and pretend like we care about them every now and then, right? They got to do that. Whereas a Macron, a Starmer, a BlackRock Merz will look at the working class and say, my God, we suffer the effrontery of their existence. What more do they want? You know, it's like they're looking at them saying, oh God, you know, these filthy, useless, worthless peasants. I mean, they come before us. God knows they better not have any expectations, but we allow them to exist. They should fall on their feet every day and thank us for mercifully overlooking the effrontery of their very existence. Oh, yikes. Get away from me, little person. Be gone. You might get peasant on me. That's the way they see it. They despise, they hate them with the passion of 1,000 suns. So the idea that Merz or one of these people or Starmer would take into account the working class is in and of itself repulsive to them. If you just say, hey guys, What about the working class? That's what they'd be like. You think you could consider the working? That's it. They could care less. They hate them. And so now they're simply this. We've got a quest to do. What is it? We must weaken Russia. Yeah, but you're not weakening Russia. Shut up. We've got a quest. We must weaken Russia. How are you going to do that? Ukraine must continue to fight and defeat Russia, but they have no chance. Shut up. Don't say that. We don't want to hear that. We're not trying to hear that. We got to get more money for Russia. And then Russia will continue to, for Ukraine, and Ukraine can continue to fight Russia, and then they can weaken and defeat Russia, and then we'll go break Russia up into 3 pieces and keep it. And everything's just going to be great. Even if it's not happening, they don't have time to think about that. It's happening. And they're going to continue. Shut up. And of course, the other part of it is this. They can't really perceive of danger, right? They can't be like, we're poking at Russia, we're attacking, shooting stuff at them, we're attacking their merchant ships, we're doing all of these things, and we do not have the kinetic capability to defeat Russia. And if this goes too far, they'll nuke us and we'll all die. They don't have the ability to think about that. No. No, you're thinking about that. Here's why. What did I say about sociopaths? They are unable to consider the ramifications of the actions they're doing. They can't think of what's going to happen. They can't think, if I do this, this will happen. I better think about what I'm doing. So in the same way, if you think about it, this is a consistent pattern. If you say to these people, hey, if you take the Russian money, it's going to just wipe out your economy in the long run. They'll look at you like you got 3 eyes. If you say, you're cutting yourself off from Russian energy, they've now said as of 2027, no more Russian gas, no more Russian fuel. I don't know if that means from India too, but whatever. And then that's it. We're done. And if you were to say, but where are you going to get fuel from? Because you're not going to have enough, and whatever you're going to get is going to be extremely expensive. Huh? They won't have a clue what you're talking about. That's 2027. That's the future. Nobody's thinking about that. Today, look what we did today. We cut off Russian fuel. We all got together and voted on it. Isn't that great? There's $500. I can get that $500. I want that $500. Boom, I'll take it and put it in my sock. It is. We can say, look what we did to Russia, and we'll smite the United States. We'll say to the United States, oh, yeah? You think we got to make a deal with Russia? Watch this. And then they'll say, okay, we're going to do that. And we'll show the United States that we don't have to listen to them and their Putin stuff. And we'll show the Russians, there's not, this may happen or that may happen. They just ain't there. They ain't trying to think like that. This is where we are. We want to throw it. There's no, but what happens if we get in a war with Russia? What do we do then? Nothing. There's no, what do we do then? That's the future. They're not there. So what they're plotting right now is they're doing what old cousin did when he took that money. They're doing something where any person of average intellect, both emotional and of IQ potential, would look at that and surmise that the outcome would not be good. In fact, that the outcome is certain, and it's certain not to be good, because you have the ability to project yourself into the future and consider what's going to happen. That ain't what these technocrats do. In fact, what's his name? Dick Cheney in 2002 or 3, whichever it was, gave us an insight. When he was asked, he says, we're going into Iraq, we're going to take it, and then they're going to greet us as flowers for liberating them from Saddam Hussein. And he was asked this, well, what happens if that doesn't work and it becomes a long, bloody slog? What was his answer? His answer was a sociopathic answer. You're asking about the future. You're asking about the consequences of his actions. He didn't have the ability to think about that. So his answer was clear. Well, Dick Cheney, basically, what happens if you're wrong and it becomes worst case scenario? His answer was, I don't see that happening. In other words, I don't have the ability to conceive multiple outcomes, least of all which I am not in favor of. I can't do that. That's not what sociopaths do. So I'm focused on what I'm doing today. I want to invade Iraq, and I can invade Iraq, and I'm going to do it. Well, what happens if it doesn't work out well? I can't hear you. I want to invade Iraq, and I can invade Iraq. You can't stop me from invading Iraq. What about this money in the Euroclear? Or you shouldn't get. I can't hear you. I want the money from Euroclear, and I think I can get it, and I'm going to get that money from you. That's as far as it is, an inability to. And what do? They looked at Kaja Callis and they said, "Oh my God, she's a sociopath. She fits the bill. Somebody get that woman over here and hire her. Hire her." Now somebody put Dick Cheney said the Iraqi oil would pay for the war too. Yeah, but he didn't care. He didn't say it because the Iraqi oil would pay for the war. He said it because he needed to deceive people to support the war. So when someone said to him, "Hey, how are we going to pay for that war?" "Oh, the Iraqi oil will pay for it." How? I don't give a shit. The Iraqi the war a time warp will open up. And money will come rushing from 10 years ago through that time warp and a wormhole and stuff like that. And it'll fall on our feet and pay for it. How's that? I don't care. You're asking me, how are we going to pay for it? That's the future. That ain't what I do. As right now, why don't you ask me, what are we doing? We're going to invade this country, and we're going to steal all their oil and steal everything that comes down. How are you going to pay for it? You got the wrong man. That's the consequences of our action. That's considering things that may cause me to hesitate in doing what I want to do. And I'm going to do what I want to do. And if you bring up something that may cause me to hesitate, I'm just going to stick my fingers in my ear and go, I don't want to hear about how we're going to pay for it. That's the sociopathic rule. That's what you do. Then, of course, you attack the person who's asking the question. That's always good. Hey, how are you going to pay for that? Say you Putin-loving Putiner. That's what they literally do. There's a term they use in Germany that just means like a Putin understander, that they attack people with. You're a Putin. I don't know what it is in German, but it's like, you're a Putin understander. You're a person who understands Putin. And if you're like, you say that like it's a bad thing. Shouldn't you understand Putin if you're making decisions? No, they shouldn't, because that would be using your brain. And that's not what they do. They're using their emotions. Their emotions are, we are fascist, Nazi, goose-stepping bastards, and we hate the Russians because we're fascist Nazis, and that's our job, to hate the Russians, in case you haven't figured it out. Therefore, people who hate the Russians do things like march into Moscow in the middle of the winter. They attack in October, early October. What do you want to do there, Mr. Napoleon? It's early October. Let's march on into Russia. How can that possibly go bad? That's what you do. You know that, because you don't have the ability to think it could possibly go bad. And there you go. From Marie Antoinette to let them eat cake to marching into Moscow in October, starting a quest to take out, all of those things together add up to, these are the people we got in charge. And this is what they're going to do. And of course, as they do that, the outcome will handle itself. You know, it's like the $500. You don't have to do anything to get the outcome. You might have heard this before. You can control your actions, but you can't control the consequences of your actions. Politically speaking, I think there'll be violence at some point in Europe. I'm pretty sure there's going to be violence in Europe. Number one, at this point, at some point, the people of Europe will wake up and say, I think I understand what they've done. And we got to sharpen up some guillotines. I think that's coming. That's just a matter of time. When do people realize that, when they're like, okay, we're in a recession. Oh my God, we're in a depression. And the economists say, you're in neither. Yeah, we are. Look how bad our economy is. No. A recession or a depression implies that your economic status is of a temporary nature. This ain't a recession. This ain't a depression. This ain't like a graph where the line's going to go out and it's coming back up. It ain't coming back up. This is your reality. You're a poor region of the world. That's what you are. It's not a recession. A recession would imply that at some point you won't be a poor region of the world anymore. No, that's not happening. That's where you are now. You have leaders that in the last 4 or 5 years, the last 10 years, have done more damage, have done centuries of damage to the European Union, centuries of damage to Europe. and the European countries in a few years. And they're continuing down that line. They're going to continue to go after Russian money at Euroclear and points beyond. Whether they'll get it, I don't know. Let's see. Let me look and see. Do we have any other news I need to get on? Let's see. Oh, interesting. Here we go. Ukraine's Vladimir Zelensky and his warmonger backers in Western Europe are attempting to contrive a temporary ceasefire that does not resolve the causes of the conflict with Russia. Kremlin envoy Kirill Dmitriev has said Zelensky and the UK and EU warmongers trying again the trick with a temporary ceasefire that does not resolve all key outstanding issues and does not provide for a long-term peace. I'm adding this. That just ain't going to happen. Let's see. Oh, I love this one. How about this? The Lithuanian government has declared a nationwide state of emergency, citing air traffic disruptions caused by weather balloons carrying smuggled cigarettes into the country. Vilnius claims they have been launched from Belarus as part of a wider hybrid attack. Allegations Minsk firmly denies. Hey, remember the Chinese balloon? Chinese balloons, they're attacking us. And you know what? That's when I said to myself, we got some stupid sons of bitches here in the United States. We got some. Let me tell you something. Europe's got some real dummies, and they've got a lot of smart people, but they've got some real, lugheads. Well, we got some here. I mean, where all you got to do is say, yes, a Chinese weather balloon is taking us. And they're like, yeah, taking us out. Yeah, Chinese weather balloon. Chaikov, the Chinese Communist Party sending weather balloons to get us. Really? And of course, it comes out that they notified us a week before, hey, this weather balloon seems to have gone awry and it's going to be floating over your country. Okay, thank you. And then, oh my God, weather balloon, it's the attack of the Chinese. And it's a bunch of dumb jackass Americans were like, yes, that really scares me. Let's see. So poor old Lithuania, they got a weather balloon problem that could be their destruction. What do we got? Oh, Zelensky response to Trump's election criticism. Zelensky ain't doing it. But can I say this? Let me say this. Why are you bothering? What difference does it make if Zelensky's in power or not? Because the truth is this: he ain't in power anyway. So what if Zelensky signs something or don't sign it? Nobody in Ukraine is going to do what he says. If he signs a ceasefire, the people, you think the Azov battalion is going to listen to him and stop fighting? Ain't happening. So why are you even bothering with this discussion about Zelensky as a legitimate politician? He's a puppet. Let's see. Trump gives Zelensky days to respond to peace plan. I put it like this. Trump is going to have to prove that he'll stand his ground. He's going to have to prove that he'll stand his ground. Somebody says Garland is moving. Yes, Garland is moving. I certainly am. And you can see my books moving. And that is, Trump's going to have to stand his ground. Will he politically? I don't know. But Trump's going to have to say, if you won't do these things, which Zelensky can't do anyway, but Trump's going to have to say, we're out, we're not doing this. But can he do it? I don't know. If I had to bet, I'd say probably not. Because here's what they're going to say. All right, you didn't get a deal, Trump. Okay, I didn't get a deal. So here's what you should do. 500% sanctions on anybody, tariffs on everybody, and sanctions and tariffs and more sanctions. This is what you do. Since what you do, you didn't get what you wanted, again, which you'll never get it. This is a good idea to launch more sanctions on Russia. Well, what if I do get it? It's even a better idea, a time to launch more sanctions on Russia. So if I'm successful, launch more sanctions and tariffs. And if I fail, launch more sanctions and tariffs. So what's Trump going to do when they all look him in the eye and say, no, hell no? What's he going to do? If you would guess based on his previous actions, you would say what he's going to do is he's going to say, okay, I didn't get it. I'm cracking down on Russia now. That's my bet. If you would say what he should do, it's walk the hell away. But I don't know that he politically can. So we shall see. Let's see. UK soldier killed in Ukraine. What's interesting is that The UK is armed that has said that one of their armed forces members died in Ukraine. Okay, it is not. This ain't the first one, number one. It's interesting that they admitted one of our armed forces died in Ukraine, and they said they were like training somebody or something. They were observing Ukrainian forces test a new defensive capability away from the front lines. Well, that defensive capability apparently was not all of that successful because they got killed testing it. It couldn't defend itself, number one. Number two, it was away from the front line, which says that the Russians were blasting everything that looked like Ukrainian military. But lastly, one could take, let me take a different direction on that and say, well, maybe that was all a lie and they're just trying to get people accustomed to Western military people dying in Ukraine and fighting. Well, we lost one. Okay, next week we lost two. Next week we lost three. Next week, okay, we're sending troops. We lost 100. We lost 1,000. We lost 10,000. We got to get you accustomed to losing troops because you're going to start losing a lot of them shortly. Let's see. Let me continue. Trump urges Zelensky to start. Let's see. Trump, Zelensky must hold elections, which he ain't. And why would he? What difference would it make? It wouldn't change anything. UN condemns the Israeli raid on Palestinian refugee agency. They've been committing a genocide for the last 3 years. For 3 years, they've been committing genocide. So the UN, nobody pays any attention to you anymore. You're condemning Israelis. They're committing genocide. And you're like, hey, they did something else, which also is part of this genocide. But we're not going to do anything about that either because we can't. Let's see. Australia bans social media for children. UK Navy needs more cash to ward off a Russian advantage. Commander, well, I'll put it like this. Zelensky needs more cash. All of these criminals need more cash. Hey, we need more cash for what? Just so we'll have more cash? Maybe buy a Bugatti? I don't know. Some hookers? Maybe some booze? I don't know. Whatever. Just give us more cash. We're thieves. We're members of the EU or the Ukrainian government. We steal everything that ain't nailing down. Give us more money. We'll steal more money. Let's see. Putin doesn't want to restore the Soviet Union. I know that. I think we have come to the end. Let me check one more outlet, see if I can find anything. The Belgian Prime Minister threatens legal action against the EU over use of Russian assets for Ukraine. Anything else? I don't see much else. Europe warhawks panic as Trump threatens to pin Ukraine's stalemate on them. Well, I think that's it. Thanks, everybody. Let me look and see if we get any super chats. All right. Hey, hello, Patty. Hello, Myra Page. Lee Argent. Other people. Let me see. Do I see anything? Let me see. I don't see anything. Super chats. Oh, here we go. I like the Duran hat. Hope all has been well, GN. Thank you very much. Anti-imperialist party. Appreciate that. Well, thank you very much. I like the Duran hat too. All's well. And I am out of here on my way. Moving on up to the big time. To a deluxe apartment in the sky. Not exactly. Let's see. Could we have a Rumble rant? I don't think we do, but you're watching on Rumble, but we're going to find out. Let's see. Do we have a Rumble rant? My content, you Technocrats. I find out. Oop. I don't see any Rumble rants, but people on Rumble are saying things. Let's see. Lesson learned. Best thing to do if you're a globalist fascist politician is do what the money oligarchs tell you, even if you know it's destructively stupid. A few of them. Okay. Curo Salvaggio says picking the trans agenda seems to be a very calculated move to divert attention from everything else that really matters to the masses. I agree, but it's just not wise. Let's look what else we got. Yeah, let's see. Let me see. Dick Cheney stuck his fingers in his ears and shot his friend in the face. Oh, that's hilarious. Uh, okay, well, I think that's about it, everybody. I think we have hit rock bottom. Uh, I think that's it. I don't know. So here's the bottom line. Thanks a lot, you all. As you know, my show has not been really flowing much simply because I've been in the process of moving. I went to Russia and then I got back. And when I got back from Russia, I had like, let's say I was 17, 30 days to move out of my house because that it's sold and the new owner takes possession of the property on the 17th of December. So I got back and it was like, oh God, let me get going. I really had done nothing before I left. So I got back. I'm like, oh, I'm screwed. I'm back on the 17th or whatever, and I got to go. And so I've been rocking and rolling along. So thanks a lot, everybody. If you can, you can share through Cash App. There's my PO box if you want to mail something there, whether it's just a letter of thanks or a book or even a donation. That's fine. I want to thank all my Patreon people, my PayPal. Certainly appreciate that. And you can buy me a coffee. However, if you can afford to, I would appreciate that. Maybe I can keep a roof over my head. Not sure of that, but it's possible. So thanks a lot for everybody that helps keep the channel going, and share this, please, on all your social media platforms. I'm out.